Today's Talk 365 Talking Wellness segment is presented by Wellness Team expert Dr. John Hatch.
Hey everybody, it's Holly. I am back with Dr. Hatch, but this time I'm in his office. I'm in your hood.
Welcome to our home.
I thank you so much for having me. So here's a little fact. 4 weeks ago, I came here and I got tested. All of your testing, and we found out I definitely have some problems because when you were on the show, we had a candid conversation on camera about the symptoms that people suffer from and the things that you do and how you come in where a lot of times people are at the place where they have no hope. And I have been working extensively with Dr. Rogers and Dennis Parker. They are Talk 365's wellness team. And upon meeting you, I was like, you're the third. You guys are a trifecta because when I read your book and I looked into your content, I'm like, all right, if he can help me, because I feel like I've done everything I could do and still having this problem of filling up with water. So we're here at the follow-up. I'm bringing you along so you can have a little behind the scenes and we can all find out together how Dr. Hatch can fill in the gaps when everybody else is like, I don't really know, Holly, maybe stress less. So it's all you, no pressure.
All righty, well, we're excited. We're excited that you're here. Plus, with your diagnostic test, it showed specific findings that there had been a head trauma sometime in her life. And there's specific findings on the eye test that show those types of markers.
So a year ago, I am walking from out of a house with some friends from a Christmas party, and I slipped, but I hit the back of my head so hard, and they said I was acting weird. They kept me up till 4 in the morning, and the next day, I was in so much pain, but I wanted to brush it off because I was embarrassed. And this is sort of the key to the kingdom of why I'm not getting results from all the diet and exercise I'm doing with Dr. Rogers and the specialty meals to heal my gut, and why I'm not getting the results from the PTSD and seeing a decrease in my cortisol response to stress from working with Dennis.
Absolutely, and both of those come from just an area of the brain. If you don't know where you are in your center of pressure, your gravity, if you feel like you're falling backwards, you'll get this tactile response. A tactile response is like kind of like a jerk response, and that's like when you get scared or startled, that makes your heart rate go up, it rushes to your extremities in case you have to run. Well, that doesn't help digestion. And so when you have this little center of posterior pressure, and as we saw on your test, and we'll show you guys in a little bit, it was massively posteriorly. So you already know that you're in that tactile response, even if you don't want to be, even if you mentally try to get out of it. So first thing I just want to show you is the balance test. The balance test is a big window into how our system is working and not working. I have last time's tests up here.
Okay.
Here on the left, you have almost 2.5 inch posterior sway. Okay. And after a month of brain exercises, we now have less than 1.5 inches. That's how much your brain's improved.
Okay.
This is incredible. And then you look at these balance scores, and this one, with your eyes closed, went down a little bit, and the brain fluctuates, so it's okay that it goes up and down. Our goal is that we're improving in a general area.
And it takes 4 months.
It takes 3 to 4 months to hardwire the brain.
For this to really be done.
So it never reverts back to the old brain. It's called neuroplasticity. So your brain on the unstable surface, that's where you felt so unstable. You're at 63 and you're now at 84. The goal is 85. You have improved almost 20% in your balance stability scores on an unstable surface. So now that brain doesn't feel anxious or uneasy or other things because the body doesn't know where it is in space. It now starts to know, hey, if I get an unstable situation, that's fine for me.
Explain to me how the concussion relates to this.
Okay, so the concussion, once you've had a head trauma, alters where your center of pressure is versus where your actual center of pressure is. And that perceived versus actual is what causes our brain to be able to adapt or not adapt. Some people get head traumas and it stays in alignment and it's no problem. It's the ones that it gets off and no one correlates why someone gets an tactile response or an anxiety response or a fight or flight response because of a possible head trauma. Here, you felt so unstable every time you were on anything unstable. So every time you fly and travel, you'll get swelling more, or you'll...
So much swelling. So the swelling makes sense to you.
The swelling makes perfect sense to us. And so then here, when your head was, with your eyes closed, you were at 75%, it went up to 77.8. And our goal is just 80. So of these markers that all 4 of them, none of them you were in normal ranges, you now have 2 of them that are in normal range and 2 that are just on the cusp of making it. So as you're developing, we're improving your brain, but hey, we still have a weakness in another area. So it tells us, hey, as you improve this, we need to improve this. This is why we stay consistent for those 3-4 months and altering your brain, and no two brains are the same. I have to tell you, no two brains are the same. We have to make changes as your brain adapts. But then here, with your head to the left, you went from 73 to 80. So that means with your eyes closed and your head to the left, you're more stable than you are with your eyes open. But 5 of the 8 diagnostic tests got better. So now your ability to handle stress just went from maybe 6 hours of work to now 8 hours. It's something that can't be necessarily measured because people aren't aware of it. But your brain can take 10 times the amount of stress that it could before, so to speak.
Oh, I'm almost superhuman. Look out.
Yep. Look out.
Okay, I don't want to derail you at all, but tell me a little bit about when you had a concussion, because all of this whole concussion key thing, it doesn't matter when it happened. I took a pretty hard fall once. I was goofing around with friends and we were doing improv in LA. But I mean, I know this last one a year ago was really intense.
Really bad.
Tell me about your situation with concussions and how this sort of came in to be such a key thing, because it happens to people all the time. Look, I just named 2 in the last 5 years.
For me, my concussion, I was 13 years old. I was a really gifted kid. I was in gait classes in California where I grew up and got a concussion, blacked out, and didn't wake up for 18 hours. So I was, I guess, conscious. I couldn't remember anything. I didn't know that my mother had passed away. I didn't know that my brother had left for 2 years. Those types of things I didn't know.
So you were amnesia
all
state.
I did was wake up the next day and going, what just happened? Like deja vu. And so after that, school went from easy A+ student every time to C+, B-, really struggled in school.
Wow.
And it wasn't until I left the country and learned a language that developed a part of my brain that was most traumatized in my head trauma. My temporal lobe is where my damage was. So recall, long-term memory, all of those things weren't working. And after learning the language, it reconnected pathways. And I came back and was a 4.0 student back in college.
Wow.
So it was really incredible. But then what happened is I stopped studying the language and my brain started to go back down. I got into school, started studying this, started applying these exercises to my own brain, and now school's much, much easier.
Wow.
And these head traumas can be seen 20, 30 years later. And each concussion, if not repaired, gets worse. And the research shows now that head trauma is the #1 cause of leaky gut.
So where in the brain gets injured that causes the leaky gut? Is it anywhere?
Most of the time it's the brainstem. Okay, most of the
So it's
time is that
back of your-
brainstem that controls all of the regulation of your heart and your gut, peristalsis and rest and digest. That gets rotated and it's like wringing out a towel. So those integrators get split up and start firing spontaneously. And at the same time, when you have a head trauma, you create swelling or you create activation of glial cells, and so that makes the brain inflamed. And that chronically, if that stays going, that chronic inflammation in the brain will then create permeability in the gut.
Whoa. So if it goes untreated.
Yeah, if it goes untreated, it's just going to be a ticking time bomb.